Howdy, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is Rick Copple coming at you from Denver, Colorado. Another episode of Not a Linux Guru Guy. And also, we have with us today Magnus Jørgensen.
Hello, everyone.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes,
That's
that's
good.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you get a lot of people don't know how to pronounce my last name. Sometimes they pronounce it Copel or other weird things. So, it's Copple, though. Anyway,
Oh,
yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, before we start to dig in with more Magnus here, we got a couple of housekeeping things to mention. One is that this is my last live stream for this until who knows when. I started working in a job that's I'm working on Saturday morning, so thus I can't do this, and I don't have any other good time to do it. So, or that I can figure out at least, because I have kids here on the days and all that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll think about finding another time we might work on it. But for the time being, it's the last one to do for the time being. So that's one thing. The other thing is my birthday's tomorrow. Yay! uh,
yay.
yeah, I'll be turned 64.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'll turn 64 tomorrow. So
Nice.
another year older and something like that. I don't want to say deeper in debt,
Yeah.
but I probably am deeper in debt. Who knows? At least with taxes. So, at any rate, we have ready to dig into your interview here, Magnus.
Yes, I am
Alrighty.
ready, Rick.
All
Far
right.
away.
All right. What do you do for a living? That's the first question I had for you.
I am an engineer. I am a mechanical engineer by trade, and but I've also specialized myself into software development, and because I was always interested in robotics.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also have like interest in automation and computers and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I got finished with my university degree back in 2008, I think it was
Mm-hmm.
6, no, 8. And yeah, I've been working as an engineer ever since. Currently, I have my own business where I do consultancy work for other uh, businesses, um, and then I also have my own little projects, uh, you know, left hand kind of stuff.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I forgot to do a sound check here real quick. Let me see how you're coming across.
consultancy work.
Yeah, you're coming across good.
All right,
Yeah. Sound perfect. So anyway, do you have a family or are you single?
I'm single.
So all the girls out there can go, ah.
Yeah.
And you live in
Yeah.
Denmark, I know that much. And yeah, so how's life in Denmark basically for you?
Well, right now it's summer, and we've had like a month of fantastic weather, and so it's quite nice here.
Yeah.
Um, um, it's Denmark is a quite northern country, so we have very long and light evenings in the summer.
Hmm.
But then in the winter we have very long nights. We basically only have 5 hours of light,
Hmm.
and it's cold and dark, and
Yeah.
so I'm actually lit by the sun outside, and it's 6 p.m. here right
Hmm.
now, and it'll
Yeah.
probably stay light until 10.
10
So
o'clock, really? Wow. I don't think I've
yes,
ever been and lived in a place like that. I haven't actually been to
no,
Europe
it's
myself, so be interesting to go visit there. No, my brother
yeah,
has, though. So
yeah. You should
anyway,
come by if you do ever come to Denmark.
yeah, yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
All right.
So, what and when was your first experience with a computer?
That is a long time ago. That is back in probably 1984 or five. I wasn't very old back then. I was 5 or 6 years old, and I basically had just started in school, and one of my friends back then had I think it must have been a Commodore, maybe VIC-20 or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, but that wasn't my computer. My first computer, or it wasn't really my computer. It was my family bought a Commodore 64
Yeah.
uh, in about 1987, I think it was, because it was the Commodore 64C,
Yeah.
the flat one, the neat one, not the bread bin. And
Yeah.
that one came out, I think, in 1987. So that's when I think we got our first computer, and that's when I began actually learning something about computers, because I was so excited with that kind of stuff when I was that age. And I read the manual and I learned to program and all that stuff.
You
So
get a manual reader like I am?
yeah, it's actually I mean, I wasn't very old. I was maybe 8 years old, and I loved it. So I read
Yeah.
all the little programs in the manual, and then I found more programs I could type into it and all that stuff.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And I mentioned all my typing of programs out on my TI-994A in the early 80s for people that. But the first computer I ever worked on or used at all was a K-Pro. Oh,
nice,
that was like an old uh, mobile computer, like a suitcase, big
right?
suitcase thing. Take the lid off, had a
Yeah,
keyboard and a
with a
little
small
tiny
screen.
green screen, though.
Yeah.
But
How much
yeah,
memory did it have? Do you remember?
that I don't really remember. I didn't get. I wasn't aware of that kind of stuff back then. My mom had it, and I pulled down and said, "Oh, this is cool," and I typed on it. It had CPM on it. For those who know
Right.
what that is, and so yeah, so that was interesting. When was the first computer you
Awesome.
ever owned personally?
So the first computer I personally ever owned was an Commodore Amiga 2000.
Hmm.
And it was at the time it was quite expensive for me. I think it might have been in 1988 or 9, and it had a SCSI hard disk with
Mm-hmm.
2 MB RAM expansion,
Mm-hmm.
and that was amazing. Amiga, that was uh, I love that was a great computer,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and then after that, I upgraded to another Amiga, which was an Amiga 1200, I think it was. And
Yeah.
that was later in the 90s. It came out. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
uh,
don't actually I remember the TI-994A I had was like one that my mom gave me, so but the first one I actually bought full computer was in the early 90s. I don't remember exactly which brand it was though now I think about it. It's HP or what I want to say, but I don't know. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so anyway, let's see. When was the first time Linux distro you ever installed and why?
This I think it was late. So Commodore went bankrupt in the early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and then I eventually I kind of got a little bit out of computing. I got a girlfriend. I moved away from home. I got a job, all that stuff. And I didn't have a computer almost from I think 1995, 96, all the way until 1998, something like that. And I got a PC with a Pentium 2, I think, processor. And on that one, I tried to install Red Hat.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a rocky experience. I didn't have it installed very long because It actually worked quite well once I installed it, and I was quite happy with it. But it didn't do the resolution that my monitor could do, and I tried to edit Xorg uh, to get it to actually do more than, I think it was 800 by 600,
Mm-hmm.
and I broke Xorg somehow, and
That's the
and I
end of
couldn't get it back
that.
again.
You
I
got
think
farther
I
than I
think
did though. I
yeah,
pushed
I
this
think I
off.
kind of bricked it, and so I kind of gave up on Linux then until I think about 2002, and that's when
Okay.
I started at university. And at university, they had Sun workstations everywhere, and all
Mm,
the cat workstations worked from there. And they had the possibility that you could remote onto the Sun workstations
mm,
using X11 from your college room. And so I could do my homework, I could do all that kind of cool stuff from my computer. And so I tried installing Linux again on my PC. That was a newer machine at the time, and and uh, and that worked this time. I think it was I can't remember if it was SUSE or if it was Red Hat again. Um, and I dual booted that and Windows XP, and then I could remote into the campus on X11 with when I booted up on Linux,
mm,
and that was kind of cool. So I
mm.
could run all the university software there.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. My first Debian was my first one. It didn't go well.
no,
Never
no,
got woken. Yeah, I didn't know
yeah,
enough about Linux at the time to really install something with know enough to so you had to have a desktop and stuff like that. So I had it on there and it's interesting. So I moved on. So let's
when was
see.
this?
When was it? About 2001, 2002. Ordered
Oh, okay,
this.
yeah,
Ordered a
that's
set of
also a long time ago.
disc for it and installed it. In 2007, I installed Ubuntu and that worked fine. But I couldn't really use it because I used QuickBooks, which for my jobs and stuff, things like that. Had to have
Right,
QuickBooks, so I
right.
had to have Windows. So, what distro is your currently your daily driver, and why do you use it?
I use Fedora on both my desktop and my laptop at the moment. I also have several distros installed in VMs. At the moment, I'm experimenting a little bit with SUSE Linux, OpenSUSE,
Mm-hmm.
and I also have a Mint installation installed, and yeah, so I kind of switch a little bit between my machine and the virtual machines to do work, and
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of works for me. But at the moment, I'm still on Fedora, on the real metal, on my both my desktop and my laptop, and I really like Fedora. Actually,
Yeah, a lot of people
it
do.
works quite well for me. Yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah.
that's cool. So, Fedora, you just like it because it didn't work for you well and you're used to it and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I began using Ubuntu back in, I guess it was 2008 or
Mm-hmm.
something like that,
Right when
maybe
I installed
seven,
it.
and maybe even before that actually, because I remember installing Hardy Heron, and I don't remember when Hardy Heron came out. That was maybe it was 2006 or something like
Yeah.
that. And I've been using Ubuntu derivative all the way from then until rather recently, actually. Um, and and then it's my experiments with Fedora has only been about a year, maybe 1.5 year. So it's rather short time I've been on Fedora, but one of the reasons why I switched both my desktop and my laptop to Fedora was I realized that I could use my NVIDIA graphics card with Wayland
Mm-hmm.
on out of the box, almost worked out of the box
Really?
on my desktop computer, and that was amazing because I couldn't get that to work on Ubuntu, and I had been, I had been kind of thinking about trying something new for a while and just trying a
Mm-hmm.
new distro, not something that wasn't Debian. So I switched to Fedora and on both my desktop and my laptop, and I've been happy with it ever since. And it just kind of works for me. With Flatpak, you can just basically install all the software you need on any distro, more or less,
Mm-hmm.
at the moment, right? So um, that's it really opens up a lot of stuff with Flatpak, I think,
Yeah,
because
it does.
you can basically get the new software or on almost any platform now, which is
Yeah,
has usually was, I mean, the problem with Debian, right?
right. Or Solus
You
in some
couldn't get the
cases.
newest stuff, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, or
um,
sometimes Solus even. We're doing Saloon tonight, so I'll throw a bit in there. Because sometimes I hit on missing packages. Like I installed G-Scan to PDF, which is GNOME's version or something like that, for a scanner.
yeah,
And it was missing a package in the dependencies. So it wasn't allowed to run.
yeah,
So yeah, just one file,
yeah,
PDF TK, I think it was. Yeah.
right,
So
right.
you never know, but Flatpaks are pretty cool about that. I think cool thing.
I like it. I know some people don't like the containerization of software,
Yeah.
but I think it's a good thing. I think I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it seems to be easier for developers. You only have to target one platform,
Right.
and you can have it on any distro, and it's more
Yeah, it's
stable that
interesting
way, I
because
think.
OBS I know was made some announcement back a while back that they're going to use Flatpaks exclusively, but I haven't heard how that's
Mhm.
gone for them. So
I had OBS installed with Flatpak, and it worked fine for me.
yeah,
I think I have it with Flatpak now, actually, on this computer.
yeah, I think
And
it's what I'm running right now too. It's
so you're
Flat.
running the Flatpak version of OBS?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It works pretty well. Yeah, there's one thing where you'd only get it on flat packs that I used a lot, and so I go on the flat packs for that, pretty much. So
Yeah.
let's see. What are your current projects you're involved in? You mentioned you had some projects cooking.
My latest open source project was simple remote support, which is it's an open source project that I made because I realized that on Linux, there doesn't really seem to be any open source native open source remote support
Or IT people.
uh, programs that people can just use out of the box. And so I thought, okay, I'll see if I can make some, because I already had a lot of the software from another project I had been building some time ago called Jambo, and it had this meeting software that I programmed,
Mm-hmm.
and so I ported that. I took it out and I rearranged it a little bit, and the latest stuff I did for it was actually doing the input routing. So when you support somebody else, you actually get the keyboard and mouse input to the other machine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, so that was my latest open source project I did. I right now I started a little jam, one of these little competitions where you work for a week on a game,
Mm-hmm.
and then everybody submits it, like several teams, and I just started this yesterday with a friend, and the theme is trains. So
Train
we're
choo
making a little
choo.
game with trains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
It's a little summer project.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's another app that would be good to make at some point if you have the knowledge of accounting at all. That's
Yeah.
inventory control. I have not been able to
Yeah.
find a good app on Linux for inventory to keep track
Oh,
your inventory. There's a few of them out
okay.
there, but they're either combined with other stuff I don't need, like a whole accounting system package, or it's just doesn't work very well because you have to install databases and do this, do that, do that, do that. So then they don't work. So
Yeah.
or they're kind of clumsy in the UI type thing, that kind of thing. So
Oh, yeah.
I use a
So
web-based app
like
or something.
inventory, is it just for like a tool shop or for a business or how or for like
Well,
your home
what I
or
was using it for was I've got books, inventory of books.
oh,
And
okay.
so I was tracking those things.
Right.
And I got
Right.
I use a what do you call it? GNU Cash for accounting purposes. So
Okay.
I've been a bookkeeper most of my career, so to speak, for the most part. Biggest, longest thing I've done at least. And so they, I had the book, the cache had doesn't have an inventory function in it. So I just needed a little program or something like that that'll track your inventory and will spit out the information you need, like your uh, last in, last out numbers and stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
I mean, if
so
it doesn't exist.
yeah, I've used a spreadsheet to try to accomplish it, but I need to rewrite it because it doesn't work as well as I want it to. It's like
Oh,
getting
okay.
clumsy. So,
Yeah,
uh,
spreadsheets are usually a little messy for that kind of
yeah.
yeah.
So that's the only way I've been able to do it though so far is with spreadsheet. So maybe so I know you can get some online like you can have my stuff put into Square on to sell things like it shows and like book tables stuff like that. But so I have that in there, and I'd probably use that. Maybe I don't know if it actually gives you really inventory functionality per se. Like it won't spit out a dollar amount that costs of goods sold for books you've sold and stuff like that. I don't think it will, but it might somewhere. Anyway, we'll get back to you. I just had that thought when you were saying you didn't have a good
But
you couldn't find anything on Linux for your the remote support, and so that popped in
well,
mind.
there are like you can get TeamViewer and that kind of stuff to get to and Chrome also has remote support, but you need account there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need it's closed source.
Mm-hmm.
It works really well. So
Yeah,
using Chrome for remote support or Google's remote support in their Office kind of suit. That
just
kind
pay
of
for it.
works really well actually. But
Yeah.
I wanted to have an open source version that where you didn't need an account, you didn't need to sign in anywhere. You just kind of
Right.
open it and say, I want help with something, and send a link to somebody who can help you, and there it is,
Ta-da.
right? That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so that's what I built.
okay. What are your
But
thoughts?
I haven't published it on Flatpak or any of FlatHub or anything yet.
Yeah.
So I guess I should do that. Um,
Yeah. That'd be cool.
so
So
right now it's
it works
yeah.
pretty well right now. It's out of the box.
So if you just use the online version, like the one where you just open the app,
Uh-huh.
that one can't do input because you need a native application on the computer to route the
Okay.
input into your computer. The browser
Right.
can't do that. And so if you want that, you have to build it yourself right now. But if you all you want is just to set up a meeting like this one we're doing here, and you want to show your screen, and somebody can help you just by watching your screen, that works. And you can try it if you want.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to send me any links to websites or links to that, I'll put it in the description notes at the end of the show. So,
Yeah, sure. Do you want it now or just later?
well, just you can send it to me through Telegram or whatever, and then I'll plug them into the show notes at the end of the show. Can't do it, of course, right now because
Right.
we're talking. So,
Yeah.
uh, so anyway, I mean, I could if I was a good multitasker, but I'm not. I've got a DOS brain, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just. All right. I put it there now in
Okay.
the.
All right. Thank you. And yeah, so what are your thoughts about Red Hat going more closed source? For those that don't know out there, Red Hat announced their IBM bought them out, I guess, when a few months ago or something like that, last year. Don't remember when they bought them out, but anyway,
Something
they
like that.
yeah they decided to close source some of their coding. Basically, even as a dev, you can get access to it if you go to a dev account, but you can't share it with anybody.
Right.
So
Yep.
yeah, so they're closed
They're
source,
basically circumventing
open source.
the principle open source in
Yeah,
open source, right?
yeah, which
So it's
says
like technically it's still open source,
yeah,
but in
but it's
reality
not.
you can't really share it. So
Doesn't it
what's
doesn't
the
cover all
point?
the false principles basically of open source.
Yeah. And I mean, my take on it is you can understand why they would do this,
Yeah.
but that doesn't make it right. And the the way I think about it is that if a company wants to make money on open source software, they basically have to be paid up front. So when they release the software, that's when they have to have been paid,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because otherwise it doesn't make sense. So you can't have royalties, you can't have license payments, or like these kind of things with open source, because people can just copy the software.
Right.
So
They're
what I
forking it.
find kind of sad about it is that it seems that um, that Red Hat wasn't able to, make money doing it this way,
Mm-hmm.
being paid up front for the software that they develop.
Yeah.
And if you look at their budget, like their balance sheets and all that stuff, they look to be a healthy company. They have,
Mm-hmm.
profits every year. They haven't had like years with a low profit. Um, so
So
in a way, it seems like it's just greed. They want
yeah.
more money because they didn't think they got enough for the
Right.
software that they developed. Um, and that's sad. That's sad because they had a business that was
Mm-hmm.
profitable, so they didn't really need to do this. It's just that they thought they were entitled to more money, I guess,
Right.
and I find that very depressing.
Yeah, I
And
think they're IBM bought them out, so they're more corporate owned, single corporation, and they feel like they have a what do you call it? A obligation to their shareholders to maximize profits. Maybe some of that goes
mhm,
into this too. Yeah. So what
yeah,
do you think about OpenSUSE forking?
but I so I'm kind of I think it's great news. I just am a little bit. I think it's strange though, because they
Yeah.
already have their own enterprise solution.
Yeah.
So
That's what
why
I
would
thought
they
of.
spend money on another one?
Yeah, I know.
But
That's
I,
weird. I guess the principle of open
but in a way,
source
it
one
kind of
is
makes sense. Mm, maybe they want to build a better like ecosystem,
Yeah.
Um, and since SUSE or OpenSUSE is somewhat built on some of the same basics as Red Hat, because
Mm-hmm.
they changed to the same file structures, they changed to RPM package managers. They are using a lot of the same things as Red Hat are.
Yeah.
Maybe the kind of bug fixes that need to be there for them to maintain an enterprise solution of Red Hat or whatever it's going to be named, if
Mm-hmm.
it's Rocky Linux or what.
Yeah.
Maybe it isn't that much more work for them if they are already doing the same kind of patches for OpenSUSE.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe they're counting on that since they are already implementing security patches and everything for their own distro, maybe they can somehow streamline this and have it kind of roll out on both two distros at the same time. Um, but I mean,
Interesting.
$10 million
Yeah.
is
It's
that's a lot of money.
yeah, that's what they
So
paid for it to get it
yeah,
started and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, and maybe if they can get other, if they could get Alma Linux and Rocky Linux on board with this,
Yeah.
and then maybe they can have a larger community maintaining this.
Yeah,
Might
and
not
then
be a bad idea actually.
downstream from OpenSUSE is Fedora, or
Yeah,
not Fedora, but the Red
kind
Hat.
of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
that's interesting. What's going on with all that? But
yeah,
always wonder what
yeah, it is
happened.
interesting. Yeah,
So now you've heard probably about Chris Titus Tech's devil and pointless categories and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so I watched the video. It was kind of like they put my MX Linux in there. Oh no, pointless. It wasn't pointless at the
I
time I
mean,
installed it. So
yeah, I mean, he does it to be provocative, right?
yeah,
So I guess,
that's why I'm gonna have more
I don't think there's anything
subscribers than
wrong
he
with
has.
addressing that point. Yeah,
Yeah. Plus, I think some of it's just kind of fun and jest. He probably figured it would be taken that way more than just how seriously people took it. Of course, pointless
but I
is
mean,
it's kind of a weird category when you think about it. You put most of
yeah. So
distros
one
in
of
there.
his criticism was that he didn't think that people needed to fork a distro in order to make something new, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he put elementary OS on in the pointless category.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he did that, but that is there's so much stuff there that
Yeah.
I mean, so much of Linux was in the devil category or in the pointless category that are actually what makes Linux what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he didn't really come up with an alternative, because if you want to make a new desktop environment and a new distro and a new completely new view on something,
Yeah.
you can't just have it as a package, like a repo for Debian.
Yeah.
You have to kind of start from scratch. You have to kind of take control of the thing in order to begin, finding a direction you want to go with this thing, and then setting sail or whatever, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with the forking a distro. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Or
I
what
don't think
open
there's anything
source
wrong
is
with
all
that.
about.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what is open source is all about. So
yeah.
I think Titus Tech kind of missed the point a little bit there on some.
Yeah. Seemed like I'm not sure of his principle of if it's just an installation of Debian or Arch with other things added on, pretty stuff, things like that.
Yeah,
That's a valid thing because like MX Linux, for instance, when I installed it on this framework, no other Debian will work on it
right,
because it didn't have a early enough kernel, but they had a way where they put the
right.
kernel on it, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I can install it on here and use it, so it worked. So I've had it on here ever since. But now I can
yeah,
install
yeah,
Bookworm on it. It will work now because it's got a old enough kernel or more mature kernel, or whatever you want to put it. So yeah, so newer kernel.
Yeah,
And
I also have a Bookworm installed in a VM,
yeah.
and it's a great version. I think I've actually been thinking about just switching to Debian from Fedora
Mm-hmm.
because I think Bookworm could do everything I need. So
Yeah. It's pretty amazing actually. I got the have on my Acer Spiral over here. I'm using it as my monitor to monitor the feed and that kind of thing. Which
mhm.
nobody's showed up yet for the stream, so it doesn't look like we're going to have any questions from the gallery, but
Oh
yet, unless somebody shows up and asks one real quick or something, but who knows?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah. So, yeah, those pointless. I mean, it's kind of pointless the way it was done, actually. I think he did it
yeah.
more to get views than anything. So,
Yeah, I mean there was some points there. It's not like it was completely pointless what he did. I think, I
yeah.
mean, to some extent, you could do a lot with just having a Debian repository and then, setting up your own and then doing everything from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then not forking, Ubuntu or making your own distro if you can just kind of do it with a repository. But
Mm,
but why? I mean, the whole point with Linux is that you can do that
yeah.
if you want, and
Right.
the whole environment. So
Yeah, it's sort of the question where people say there's too many distros out there. And on one hand, I get it, but on the other hand, it's kind of like, well, if I want to make a distro,
yeah,
why should I not do it? I
yeah. I
mean, if
mean,
I have a reason for it and a goal for it.
it's kind of the whole point with freedom, right? Is that
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna expect to have very very diverse kind of directions with the software that's managed by something that's kind of free, and not
Mm-hmm.
as in free beer, but as in free speech, right?
Yeah,
And and so it's just gonna be that way. You can't really have it in any other way, I think.
yeah,
And because if it's not free, then it's like Windows or Mac OS,
yeah,
right? Then it's
yeah,
there's only one distro. There's only kind of one line, and everything has to be in one way. And so I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way.
mm-hmm.
I think all these distros, that's what makes it free and open. So.
Yeah. And you have to pare it down for new people so they don't have get overwhelmed with it. But yeah,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, there's like Linux Mint and Zorin OS for those people, right? And
yeah,
Ubuntu is also something. I mean, most people try Ubuntu first, right? Because it has a lot of
yeah.
the
Yeah, actually, the
attention.
first distribution I ever ran was for a daily driver was Elemutu with the
Oh,
LXD lap desktop, which is probably not recommended for most new users, but that's but
well, uh,
but the thing is, I got to go in and it was fast. I mean, it was snappy,
yes, yes,
and
and it's a lot like Windows XP, right?
yeah, and
And yeah,
yeah, so I had that, and I ran it for 6 years before I changed it.
yeah,
So
that's a long time.
I know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just snappy at the end of it as it was at the beginning too.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, I was on Xubuntu.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
that's when I switched to from Elmu to the Xubuntu for a while. I
yeah,
ran that for about a year, and then I ran Linux Mint after that, and then it went downhill from there. I ran everything pretty much, one point or another, except for
yeah.
hey, well, I did run. I don't know if I run Slackware, but I run the PC Linux OS because I had that on the Linux Saloon back last year.
Hmm.
That's when I installed it and ran it for a while. I know
Right,
Peter Passion, he has it on his he has that plus he has Solus going and stuff like that.
right, right.
But yeah, we got all these nice things. The thing is, use case. Everybody has different use cases. So if you
Yes.
want something simple that has tools like to install Chrome browser or something like that out of the box, there's several distros that can do that.
Hmm.
Stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Do you have any websites additionally you want to give, or do you have a YouTube
Um,
channel, that kind of stuff?
yes, I have two YouTube channels. See if I can find that for you. To do my channel, boink, and I'll send that to you here.
Right, everybody will post those down
And
in the description notes when we get them.
yes, and I also have this one. My channel, boink, copy, paste. That should work, I think. See.
Yeah, that came through, I think.
Yeah.
Saw something there pop up there from Telegram. So, yeah, so, yeah, what is YouTube channels about basically?
The first YouTube channel is my original YouTube channel. I've done lots of stuff on that one, mostly programming stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I also do like computer tech tips and that kind of stuff, but it's kind of long-winded.
Mm-hmm.
I have some videos that are more than an hour just of programming, and doing stuff. So the second channel is more engineering related. It's more like into robotics and making stuff. And It's my newest channel too. And Yeah, so the first one is more like the procedural one is the one that's more computing related, more programming and that kind of stuff. And the
Mm-hmm.
second one, the one called Mother Forger, is engineering related, more kind of maker stuff and also programming. But yeah,
Super good. So, everybody check those channels out and subscribe to his channels and all that kind of stuff. I know Nathan probably would, if he's not already on there, he'd probably like to be on the engineering robotics and stuff. He's into making
yeah,
stuff and that kind of thing too, I think. So,
yes, I have
so he probably
seen
is
some
already
of yeah.
subscribed by now, but
It could be, yeah.
if he hasn't, he isn't now. He probably will be soon.
I
Soon as
posted
it,
some of the videos from that channel on the Linux Saloon
uh,
Telegram channel, and so he probably
yeah, you're probably aware of him.
subscribes to yeah.
Probably subscribed to it already. I'll definitely check him out myself. I don't know how how it'll go, but I'll look at them and check them out. So I guess that's it. We haven't had anybody show up yet for this that I've been able to discern or detect. They'll watch it later in the After Effects. As I've been going
Yeah,
for about 45 minutes almost. So,
yeah.
so you have anything else you wanted to bring up or topics you wanted to cover?
Uh, Lately there's been talk about not relying on distros that are built by corporations.
Yeah, yeah, it seemed
And
problematic.
And I've been these past few days. I've been going around thinking about what to talk to you about, and one thing that I was thinking about like my first computers and all that stuff. I was thinking about Commodore, and
Mhm.
one of the really funny things about Commodore is the way that they just kind of collapsed under their own weight. And Which was kind of from Europe, from a European perspective. That was a very interesting thing because everybody I knew had an Amiga and bought
Yeah.
Amigas, lots of them, and they were super popular. And suddenly the company just collapsed, went bankrupt,
Mm-hmm.
and that was very strange. It seemed like at the time it was, people said, okay, they will be bought, the assets will be bought by somebody, and the product will continue because
Yeah.
obviously lots of people were interested in buying these computers still, And so everybody thought, okay, this is not going to
Yeah.
be the end for the Amiga and for the Workbench and all that stuff. There's a whole community, like
Yeah.
many thousands of people were into this, and lots of software and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. It just died. And the Amiga platform had the longest and most the longest and it's a cruel death, like
Mm.
because everybody always thought it was going to survive, but it never did. No new products came about, no new operating systems came out, and eventually it's being held alive today by just the community, and it was a closed source platform too.
Yeah.
But it disappeared, and that's the thing with companies, is that you can't get into this corporate management problem
Mm-hmm.
where some manager gets a crazy idea and destroys everything.
Like I knew
And
Coke almost destroyed Coke.
yeah, and I think that's a good point. Now that we see Red Hat doing this, obviously I think everyone is aware that this might not be in their best interests, self-interests, to do this actually,
Yeah.
because they're going to lose a lot of the community that's built around the
Right.
products, right? And 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 these and that's the problem with these companies. When these products are based on a single company, you can get something like that. And I think we also saw that sometimes with Microsoft. I think Windows 8 was a great example of this, because it was not a success. And the
Yeah.
same thing with Windows Vista.
Yeah.
They had the benefit of being like the biggest company, the most valuable company in the world, but I think they lost a lot of goodwill there, and I think they lost a lot of. Had they been a little less dominant in the IT industry, I think I think Microsoft could have been really hurt by those decisions they made there,
Yeah.
and I think that's it's a really good point. If you're relying on this single point of failure kind of thing with one company, you know, making your software. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a risk there, and
Yeah.
going the way with the open source community is going, where the Linux Foundation is a company that is supported by the industry and not just by
Mm-hmm.
one. It's not just one company that's making all
Right.
the source code for Linux. It's like IBM and Intel, and even Microsoft is
Yeah.
providing source code now
Everybody
for the
puts.
Linux kernel, right?
Yeah.
And I
Everybody
think
puts.
that's a more and Debian is in that vein. I think probably Debian is the way to go for me now. Um, Maybe I should uninstall Fedora and put Debian on my computers.
Who knows what's gonna happen with Fedora? But at least it's upstream from it instead of downstream. So
That's
anybody
true. That's
expecting
true. And that's the
downstream.
community there too, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah. So
right.
yeah. Let me straighten myself out. I just realized I something I intended to do is just. I notice the camera's a little bit weird. That's one reason why I have to look a little wonky. Yeah, it's better for those people with OCD that are just going,
Yeah,
oh, can't watch this any longer.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
uh, yeah,
Where,
so
by the way, where are you from in the US, Rick? Are
right
you
now I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Colorado? Okay, because because I kind of find a lot of IT started in the United States, and you have Texas Instrument in Texas, and Commodore was in Pennsylvania, and
Hmm.
then you have a lot of the rest in California, right?
Right.
And and it seems like everything is in California now, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And there's
Silicon
also
Valley, it's called.
yeah, exactly, yeah, and even Linus Torvalds is living there, right? He's living in Seattle, I think.
Yeah, I don't know where he's living, but yeah, somewhere out there.
probably somewhere around there.
Yeah, I haven't heard
Like they're all
anywhere.
over there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, Windows is up in Seattle, I think. Windows all along the West Coast. Seattle, Washington.
yes,
And
yes, yeah. And I find that kind of funny that like it's as if it didn't start out to be that centralized, but it has turned out to be so centralized. And
yeah.
and the funny thing with software, like I don't know if anybody has like an analysis of this or any kind of insight into why this is, but it seems like in software industry or in IT, there ends up being very few products in any kind of domain.
Mm-hmm.
So with operating systems, we basically have Mac OS and Windows and Linux. But
Yeah.
let's face it, Linux is not that big, right?
Yeah.
So it's like Microsoft Windows has like 90% of the market, right?
Yeah, I heard
And
some
and I don't know
citizens
why that
on
is. Why is it so that with any kind of software you basically have almost no competition and everything centralizes in one point? Um, like with
yeah.
CAD software, there's basically like AutoCAD, and then there's SolidWorks, and then there are some other smaller, you know,
Right.
CAD systems. But it's basically like these two. They have like most of it, right? And why is it like that? Why is the IT industry so um, focused on why don't we have like more? Why is it not like under other industries? I find that kind of
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah.
Where in other industries you know
Well, I
you have
think
cars coming from France, you have cars coming from Germany and Korea and
it's probably similar
India.
to what happened with entertainment. It kind of got centralized in New York City and Hollywood
Yeah, yeah,
type thing.
yeah. But you still have movies coming out, like movies people want to
Well,
watch.
nowadays,
Yeah, you
yeah,
still have that coming from other places too.
yeah,
But of course, you're right. Like most of it's in Hollywood, and yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And if you want to go to a good play, you got to go to New York City. Never been to New York City myself, but
right. Yeah, I've
so
been there once on a trip to my brother. I stayed in New York for a few days
yeah,
just to see it. It's very expensive.
yeah, I bet. I'd really like to go see their fireworks show sometime on 4th of July. It seems like they put out an amazing fireworks show
Oh yeah,
on the
yeah, that could be
barges
kind
out
of
in the
cool.
water. Got like
Yeah,
three
yeah,
of them shooting off fireworks.
yeah,
So I thought it'd
yeah.
be, but I bet you'd be really crowded though. So I'm not
Oh
sure I'd
yeah,
like it.
oh yeah, yeah. That's got to be very crowded. Yeah,
Yeah, traffic getting
yeah,
in and out probably be really difficult. So
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
um, that's cool. And I guess nobody showed up for it yet, so we'll say bye, I guess. Thank you, Magnus, for
All right.
taking the opportunity to do this. It was fun. You get
Thank
to know
you,
you a little bit
Rick.
better. And
Yes.
I would say until next time you see me on my upload videos, I'll upload a video every once in a while, but depending on how work allows me to do it.
Yep.
But otherwise, this will be the last live stream for a while, maybe
All right.
forever, depending on what happens. So anyway, thanks, man, for being here, and thank everybody for watching, and subscribe if you have a like mind to. Hit the like button too. Any interaction down in the comment section you want to make would be good, so we can generate more views for the show, I guess, or something like that. Not this show particularly because I'm ending it, but 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 the all the videos and stuff for the channel. So anyway, and the Linux Force be with you. Bye.
Bye.